Senator Roger Wicker, good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. And the only thing I would have done differently with Gail Long is get married to her sooner.
Well,
I've been married 42 and a half years now. It's been pretty good.
Spoken like a good politician, isn't it? Well, you're a newcomer. I've been married for 49.
Happy husband.
Yeah, for me 49, you're 42, so there you go. All right, look, there are a number of things to talk about. I know you wanted to talk about Gina Haspel. I wanted to talk about this. There's some things in that. By the way, the House, they're supposed to do the deed today on the Farm Bill, are they not?
That's true. Yeah, I think they're going to vote about 10:30. But let me tell you, Paul, I just saw the most amazing thing on Fox News Channel. And it was Geraldo Rivera acknowledging that Donald Trump is, in fact, having a very successful presidency. I never thought it would come out of his lips, but he's finally admitting the truth.
Well, no, but
he's there's a lot to be proud of.
He is. He's kind of, because he knows the guy. They've been acquaintances for a long time. And really, in the last appearances that I've seen over the last couple of 3 months, it seems like he understands what's going on with the Democrats. But that's another story. I want to talk about Gina Haspel for a little bit, because she was confirmed. And your thoughts about her confirmation?
Well, I think her confirmation should have been by a vote of 90 to 10. And but I guess we're not in that day and age anymore.
Yeah.
Listen, she is a total professional. The things that have been said about her could easily have been said with a lot more accuracy about the last CIA director under Barack Obama. And I can tell you, the troops out there at CIA are absolutely delighted about this. Morale could not be better in our intelligence community. And it's wonderful that she's the first woman ever CIA director. But the main thing is she's come up through the ranks. She knows what she's doing. She's non-political. She's going to get the job done. I think her testimony was very, very impressive. And I'm glad she's in the job. It would have been nice if she'd been confirmed unanimously. Can't really say the same thing about the FBI. There's so many things going on right now. I have to ask you, do you have any idea when Michael Horowitz, as far as the Inspector General, when this thing is going to be presented? No, I really don't. But I think a lot of reports need to be wrapped up soon. Of course, including this Mueller special counsel investigation. I agree with the Vice President and Rudy Giuliani. It's gone on a year now. They've pretty well acknowledged that they're not planning on indicting the president. I think they need to get the report done and move on. Well, if I saw something a few moments ago that said the president's going to be studying during the summer on how to rehearsing the Mueller investigation questioning. And I thought, certainly that can't be, because, I mean, that's just going to draw it out to the midterms one way or the other. But hopefully it would be over by then. Well, I certainly hope it is. And let me just say, if I were the President of the United States, which I would never be, there's no way I would ever talk to a special counsel. There's nothing that can be gained about that. It's totally a lose-lose situation. And so the president has not asked me my advice on this, but my advice would be to respectfully decline to be interviewed. Nothing good can come of it. Do you think things are going to change a little bit? I know they've gone on the attack with the addition of several other people as far as the legal team, inclusive of Giuliani. But it looks like things are they're just he's a bulldog, and I'm not sure if some of the things he's talking about or says are rehearsed or extemporaneous. But Giuliani's a pretty smart guy, yep. And I was channel surfing today. He spent a lot of time with Chris Cuomo on Chris's show this morning, and I thought he did pretty well. I think on balance, the fact that he's spontaneous and unrehearsed is helping. but I'll just tell you, I think the president's coming up in the polls. I think the American people are ready for these investigations to end.
Oh,
and,
you know they are.
And let's start talking about how great the economy is. And more Americans working than ever before. These generational tax cuts, repealing the individual mandates.
The only thing that let me say this: the only negative that I'm beginning to hear, and it's a negative on one issue that hits every American instantaneously, and that is gas prices, and people are not happy about that.
Well, I tell you what we don't need to do in that regard is do anything that causes us to quit using American oil and gas. So, to the extent that we are able to keep producing using this great new technology that we had no idea would work a decade ago, it's only going to help. But gas prices have certainly gone up, and my little Honda Accord up here in Washington, when I have to fill it up.
What are the gas prices there?
It's awful up here.
Oh.
It's bumping up against $3 up here.
Yeah, it's around $2.50, $2.60 here, $2.65 in some places. So
we have better gas prices in Mississippi than most states.
Yeah, but
it's there. But part of the solution is to keep producing American energy, and it turns out we have more of it than the Middle East. We just didn't know about it.
Let me go into this because I was reading some of this information yesterday doing show prep, and Rand Paul had a resolution which was overwhelmingly rejected and would have nullified the budget that we already put together in 2019, the fiscal year budget, and it would really take us back to uncertainty of what was going on in the country. I'm not sure if I guess we would have to do more omnibus spending. We would there would be a lot of, I guess the military budget would have been in doubt again. It failed as far as the Rand resolution. But I think this is going to be showing up in some political ads somewhere, and people just don't understand exactly what was going on. But your thoughts about that?
Well, I think people are willing to listen to reason. The truth of the matter is, the Rand Paul budget would have devastated national defense, and it was something that was just put together at the last minute and brought to a vote, sort of on a parliamentary rule that allows this sort of thing. Very little debate about it. But when Secretary Mattis heard about it, he said we cannot tolerate these kind of defenses. These kind of cuts in our defenses, and this would be devastating for our troops.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that. We got a quick break here. We got a break. Can you hang on for a second?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I want to talk about it because the differences, and a lot of people don't understand this, because in the sound bites and the commercials that'll run in the campaign is, we had a chance to bring the budget under control, and those evil people in the Washington establishment wouldn't let it be done. And at the same time, most of the people who are parroting this don't know the difference between mandatory spending and discretionary spending. So we'll talk about it more with U.S. Senator Roger Wicker when we return in just mere moments. Ray Stevens. All right, let me get back with Senator Roger Wicker here. Man, everybody says the national budget, and we understand the $20-something trillion. But when you start, as far as this bill, as far as Rand Paul, it really wouldn't do anything on there because the increases were in the mandatory spending that you guys really haven't any control over. I think, as it's put in this article that I read, it's on autopilot. And that needs the House and the Senate and the Democrats on both sides to get something done on that.
Well, absolutely. And the one thing that we tried to do about these expenditures was the GrahamCassidy proposal to slow the growth rate of Medicaid. It happens that is a proposal Rand Paul was not able to support in the U.S. Senate. Let me just say this, Paul. Rand Paul is a friend of mine. We have a very cordial relationship, and where we really differ is on the national security issues. I mean, Rand was one of two Republicans yesterday to vote against the CIA director, and it's kind of coincidental that on that very same day he offered a budget motion that would have prevented our increase in troop strength that we need so much, that would have devastated the Mattis defense plan. It would have ended our quest to build 355 ships, many of them down on the coast, and would have made it impossible to give our troops the pay raise that we voted for them. So to me, yesterday was a vote about being realistic about our need to defend the country. And if Senator Paul wants to have a real conversation about tackling this $20 trillion deficit budget debt that we have, he needs to help us on things like GrahamCassidy and proposals that would actually slow the growth rate.
Yeah, not only in Medicaid, but we had the numbers yesterday. I think it's $686 billion as far as the Farm Bill over a 10-year period, and 77% of that over the 10-year period is food stamps. And every time you go in, and I think the President and the House and Senate, as far as conservatives are concerned, is to strengthen and tighten up a little bit as far as the workfare requirements, which seems to be a great idea. It's worked wherever it's been implemented.
It's a great idea. Thank you for mentioning that. The House is going to vote on that this morning, I think. Around 10:30, they're going to vote, I hope, on a bill that tightens the work requirements. And this is a terrific debate that Americans need to have about the so-called SNAP program, the food stamp program. And we probably don't have the votes in the Senate to pass it, but I can't wait to have that debate, just like we had the debate some 2 decades ago on welfare reform. Absolutely, the House, I think, is going to do the right thing today, and I hope we can bring senators around to that conclusion also, and put a stronger work requirement on able-bodied people that are getting food stamps.
You know, when you guys have to live in that environment in Washington, it's kind of like living in an environment of a talk radio show host doing politics every single day. When you look at the response to the president saying these people who slit throats actually take a knife and carve a heart out, and from the MS-13 gang are nothing but animals, they're not human. And then you see, when you turn on the television on any of the liberal stations out there or networks, you see it's taken that he's called all of the immigrants, illegal immigrants, as animals. And it's just disheartening. I just have to hope and pray that people out there on both sides of the political spectrum see through this, though.
Well, that's one of the points that Geraldo Rivera was happily making on Fox News Channel this morning. He said the president's not only having a great presidency so far, but he's not being treated fairly by the press. And absolutely, that is an excellent point that you're making about that one statement. But in general, I just think the economy is going to keep booming along because we've lifted all these regulations. We've lowered taxes for almost every American. We've become competitive internationally with our tax rates, and there's just a lot. There's a lot more to do, for sure. No question about it.
Well, let me ask you this finally, and I know you've got to get back.
There's a lot to point to in terms of accomplishment.
How is the freshman senator doing up there?
I think she's doing very well. She's a quick study. She's popular among her members, and she's getting home and getting around the state. And I have nothing but praise for Cindy HydeSmith.
Well, and she landed on a couple of good committees. She landed on a couple of good committees too, didn't she?
Absolutely. She's going to be a leader in the agriculture bill, and that's the farm bill that's coming up soon, as I mentioned, in the U.S. Senate. And of course she's on appropriations, and I can tell you that's where a lot of the action is.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Have you heard any rumors? What's the buzz up there, if there is any buzz? And we're talking with Senator Roger Wicker. Is there any buzz up there as far as another Supreme Court justice retiring? I know there has been a little buzz, but is anything kicking up? Is the buzz meter on the Richter scale going up a little bit?
Well, you hear that talked about, and if Justice Kennedy, who's been on the court for a long time, sort of in that swing vote, if he decides to retire and take a little time off, then this would be a very good time to do it. Between sort of late spring and the time the Supreme Court goes back into session on the first Monday of October, it would be a good time to do it. And just for my purposes, I think it'd be a great service to the country to allow this Republican Senate and this president to appoint another Supreme Court justice in the mold of Neil Gorsuch and in the mold of these 21 appeals court circuit judges that we have. I think that's one of the great generational accomplishments of this successful administration is changing the judiciary. We now have 1/8 of the Circuit Court of Appeals appointed by Donald Trump and confirmed by the Senate in the last year and a half, and it's one of the great records I'm proud of.
If everything goes as supposed to before they adjourn for the vacation, I'm talking about the Supreme Court, there are several other important pieces of opinions to come down. They rendered the sports betting, which is causing a lot of excitement here in the state of Mississippi. The internet, that's going to be coming, and there are several other ones, so everybody's going to be watching. And then, as you said, who knows if somebody's going to be using the summer vacation to say that they're not coming back. So we got a lot of news coming up. And then there's the North Korea deal, so it never ends. Look, always look forward to it when you're
hopeful about North Korea, Paul.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I mean the other side of this is one of the reasons they're stalling is to hide some of the stuff before they implode whatever they've got. So I don't know. I mean that's intrigue at the highest level, and we will see what happens, and I hope it does work out. I'd love to see him get the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. So, if he can pull this off,
I'd love to see us. I'd love to see us get a good deal. And I think Secretary Pompeo is a very realistic. He knows what these people are about, and I think if we can negotiate a good deal, Secretary Mike Pompeo is one to do it.
Senator Roger Wicker, always a pleasure, sir. Have a great weekend, and look forward to seeing you in the studio during your break.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Senator Roger Wicker.